So is Ray Comfort dumb, dishonest, or deluded? Let's consider the evidence. Bishop Bobby posted a Rayism on Facebook the other day. Being the skeptic, I take nothing at face value and hunted down the source. The quote is no longer on Ray's website, or at least I couldn't locate it there, but fortunately archive.org's Wayback Machine has a long memory, and I located the offending piece. The entire page should provide us with some evidence as to Ray's outlook on the world. Before we get to nipples, we should consider Ray's quote mines. Ray provides us with snippets from Albert Einstein, Isaac Newton, and Stephen Hawking. It is amusing that Ray, who recently stated unambiguously that there is no gravity in space, should choose to quote three of the greatest minds in history, all closely connected to theories of gravity. Had Ray even dipped his reading toe into the work of any of these men, then he would have not made such an utterly vapid statement as that gravity does not exist in space. 12 to 14-year-olds in Britain are expected to understand the basics of gravity, including its effects across the cosmos. And I think this is comparable in other educational systems. Ray, who defends his dogma against science, has an education level below that of a 12-year-old. To dogmatically defend a position without educating yourself on it is intellectually dishonest. Ray may know that Newton's writings suggest he was in fact an Arian and rejected the divinity of Jesus as portrayed by modern Christianity. Einstein was a pantheist and did not recognize any Holy Trinity, and Hawking is at least an agnostic atheist who stated clearly there is no need for any creator and that heaven is a fairy story for those afraid of death. But Ray quoting out of context should surprise no one. Potholer54 exposed his fraudulent editing of Vox Pop interviews, and PZ Myers and others have complained that their considered responses during Ray's Evolution vs. God docu-joke were left on the cutting room floor so that Ray could present their pregnant pauses as the sole responses to his facile questions. Quote mining out of context, falsely representing a person's position, and fraudulently editing interviews will serve as evidence. And now to the nipples. Why did Adam have nipples? Ray starts with some quotes from Darwin. Has Ray read Descent of Man? I've seen no evidence of that fact. He has been schooled on evolution by everyone he has debated, but continues to preach the same nonsense as he always has. Maybe man and giraffe have a common ancestor is thrown down as a risible statement. Has it still not got through to Ray that by the definition of the theory, everything has a common ancestor with everything else? Is this a sign of utter dumbitude? Ray's simply not listening when the basics of evolutionary theory are explained to him, his dishonesty in misrepresenting what he's been told, or something else? I begin to lean towards utter dumbitude when I read this paragraph. It's my guess that God gave men nipples for aesthetic purposes. Without them, an obvious something would be missing. They give balance to the male body, which is of course why all women have cocks and men have breasts. Without them, an obvious something would be missing. I can only conclude that Ray has no concept of the paradigms of attractiveness, and that could only be the case in a man of his age if his reading shelf started collecting dust before he left school. Men have nipples for the same reason God gave us one nose and not two, and two eyes and not one. That's unless you think that a one-eyed, two-nosed man would be attractive to women. This really does beg a belief. I think it's safe to say that Ray is as dumb as a very stupid brick. In his distorted and evacuated head, God created a man and gave him two nipples because he, God, knew that he would soon be creating a woman who liked men with two nipples. And then for purely aesthetic purposes, his God gave us just the one nose, but ignored the fact that placing it where he did would ensure that millions of people would choke to death due to the simple fact that the food and air pipes cross over in the throat. Intelligent design would have avoided that. Evolutionary theory explains it. One question should remain uppermost in our minds when considering the evidence. How would we expect someone who earns a living from preaching that they know the truth concerning the answers to life, the universe and everything to behave if they are honest in their search for the truth and honest in their presentation of what they have learned? To be called dumb, Ray would have to exhibit signs of a low intellect. His intellect is obviously severely restricted, but that may be through his own choice, and he is certainly intelligent enough to run a multi-million-dollar family business and extract hard-earned cash from thousands of people. Ray exhibits zero interest in educating himself in any area whatsoever. He is a self-professed best-selling author, but anyone who has read his books or watched Steve Shive's excellent series on them will realize that he has the vocabulary and writing skills of a junior high school student, a clear indication that he has done little reading himself. His dishonesty has been proven beyond doubt. If we add to this the fact that he, like many of his clones, harp on about abortion whilst defending the genocide, specieside, terraforming, rape, slavery and child abuse carried out by or under the direct command of the made-up God in his chosen book of myths, then we have someone who is morally bankrupt. Ray's lack of interest in educating himself to even a basic level, as evidenced on numerous occasions, including his latest cosmological blunder, whilst claiming to debunk hundreds of years of scientific research, is evidence of his intellectual bankruptcy. So yes, Ray is dumb, but this may be because he chooses not to educate himself rather than his having an intrinsically low intellect. He is dishonest beyond any doubt, and is very aware of his dishonesty because he has manipulated information in a fraudulent manner to misrepresent people. Whether he is deluded or is entirely cognizant that he is playing the part of the preacher to bilk money out of his followers' bank accounts to fund the lifestyles which he and many of his extended family enjoy, only Ray knows. But as I've shown, you should not expect an honest answer from him if you pose that question. Now, if you like what I do and would like to see me expand my work into more in-depth, fact-filled and fully referenced videos on evolution, superstition, religion and magic, then please consider supporting me on Patreon. And thank you as always for watching.